We are discussing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the 9th chapter, the kingly signs and the kingly secret. And in that we have discussed yesterday elaborately about the people who have faith and devotion, how do they reach the absolute and not to return again to this mortal world of birth and death cycle, and who have no faith, ignorant persons, they are always body-minded, they worship the body only, they don't believe in the absolute truth. Without reaching the highest goal of the life, they return again and again to this mortal world of birth and death. And today we shall discuss the 4th sloka. He gives all the secrets. Lord Krishna opens out the ever revealed, unrevealed secret. He says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagada vyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham te svavastitaha. All this world is pervaded by me in my unmanifested aspect. All beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them. We sometimes find some contradictory declaration, but when we go to the real meaning of it, by contemplation, by discussion, by analysis, then we see nothing is contradict to each other, but they have the same meaning. Lord says, all this world is pervaded by me in my unmanifest aspect. All beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them. Abhyakta Murti. Abhyakta, we have discussed it before. Abhyakta is unmanifested, and we have discussed how this unmanifested aspect is in two ways. One is inferior, the other is superior. Even the unmanifested is of two types. Just as we have discussed, the knowledge is of two types. One is informative knowledge, which is subject to grow and ever changing. What you know yesterday, today you know something else, something more. But this informative knowledge is lower than the experiential knowledge, which never changes and always constant. That is the experience of the object. That means experience of the awareness, existence, and the contentment, that is called bliss. It exists and it is aware of its existence and it is satisfied, full contented by its awareness of existence. This is called Sat, Chit and Anand. This is how we can somehow express the truth. This is the highest expression ever possible. So here also Abhyakta is of two types. The lower of the Abhyakta, which is the Mula Prakriti, the primordial cause for the whole universe, that is of three qualities. When it is unmanifested, these three qualities, sattva, rajas, tamas, they remain in a steady or in a harmonious way. They don't have any movements. The moment it is imbalanced and starts vibrating, that is called the Mula Prakriti, which is manifested from the unmanifested, the same. When it is in balanced state, it is called unmanifested, and when it starts vibrating, the energy is visible in actions and qualities, names and forms. Visible means perceivable by the senses, mind, etc. Then it is called manifested. The same thing. When it is silent, it is unmanifested, and when it is vibrating or it starts changing, imbalanced, that is called manifestation. And higher than that, there is no question of unmanifested or manifested, no question. That is ever silent, absolutely, eternally the state of silence, balanced, harmonized, constancy, which is eternally as it is, no change ever possible in that. That is called the real unmanifested, which never gets manifested. No possibility. So that is the source of all. From that point of view, keeping all these analytical views in the front, if we say, now Lord explains Abhyakta Murti, this is the unmanifested, is Para-Brahman, or the supreme unmanifested being, invisible to the senses, but cognizable through intuition or experience. All beings from Brahma, the creator, down to the blade of grass or an ant, dwell in the transcendental Para-Brahman. They have no independent existence. They exist through the self, which is the support for everything, which underlies them all. Now we understand something little, what is unmanifested and what is manifested. All the beings when we talk of all the beings, what is manifested, we have to keep the basement of understanding that all these are imaginary only. Nothing is manifested ever. So-called manifestation, manifested world creation, all these are only imaginary aspects. Nothing is there. Just as there is no something which can be called as the bubble or whirlpool or the waves. It is only water. By no way we can call it different from the water which is called bubble or waves. It is only water. So it is imaginary aspect of the water. Water remains water all the time. That is how the supreme unmanifested truth, it remains as it is without being changed in any way. But these manifestations, these bubbles or waves in the water, only some imaginary aspect of the water only, imaginary. It is truly it is not there. Just as the blueness of the sky or our best example, superimposition, the snake and the rope, or the water in the mirage, something we think which is not at all there. Just as the horns of a rabbit or the birthday ceremony of a barren woman. Similarly, all these worlds are not existing at all, but imaginarily, imagination imagines all these. So in this way, all these imaginations are not found in the absolute truth. Just as the blueness never belongs to the sky. Sky is never blue, but we see it as blue. The water is without odor, color and taste, but yet we see the pure water as blue water. This is misunderstanding or some superimposition or some imaginations, and this is how we imagine this world, creation, and that is from the lower unmanifested. These qualities, when they get misbalanced, sattva, rajas, tamas, which are not at all there, but some aspect of the truth, something, some imaginary aspects. Just as the water when gets imbalanced, it is called ripples, tides or waves or bubbles or something. Similarly, this primordial energy which is not at all there, yet when something appears as some vibratory process, then we call it unmanifested has been manifested. And why this happens? Why these imaginations start playing havoc? because of the supreme transparency of the truth. It is so subtle, so transparent, so pure. Its nature is such. This is called nature. Just as the crystal holds all the colors, all the reflections of surrounding objects within it, it gets colored without having any color. Colors are all these reflections we see inside it is not at all there. For example, थोड़ा सा हरिओम लाएंगे वो क्यूब पेपर वेट. Our bright example is in our hand. The glass paper weight. See, we see something, some colorful in this paper weight, but there is no color in it. Really, there is no color. Because of its transparency, it appears to be so. And see this one. You see this cube. There are so many lines, aspects. The globe is within it, and globe is nothing but the lines only, imaginary dots and lines. It is only glass. It is nothing different from the glass. But yet, we imagine so many things in it. How many things is there in? See, the side is there, this line is there, the angle is there, the square is there, the cube is there, the surface is there, what not? How many aspects we can imagine in it which is not at all there? Similarly, because of its transparency, it appears to be so. Similarly, these creations or these imaginations are due to the absolute purity of the Supreme Truth, which dazzles like this, which appears like this. This is its nature. The heat is nature of the fire. The fire cannot be cold, and the snow cannot be hot. This is the nature. This is called nature. So in this way, the Lord explains Abhyakta Murti, the unmanifested Supreme Truth. All these beings, they have no independent existence. They exist through the Self, which is the support for everything, which underlies them all. Without this transparent support, all these imaginations cannot exist. The support is transparent glass cube. Similarly, the support for all these creations is the absolute truth. Nothing here contains it. Nothing here contains it. As Brahman is the self of all beings, one may imagine that it dwells in them because the absolute truth is all pervading. So nothing else can remain without it. It is all pervading means it is existing in every all these imaginary beings. So we have to think in a common way. The absolute is all pervading, so it should be present in all of them, but it is not so. It appears to be contradictory statements, but it is not so. See, glass has nothing to do with all these imaginations. How can you say the glass is there in the line? Glass is independent of itself, but lines are imagined in the glass. So, the glass is the holder of cause for all these imaginary lines. The lines are in the glass, but the glass is not in the lines. How can the infinite be contained in a finite object? The infinite cannot be contained in the finite object, means the small glass cannot hold the whole ocean inside it. Brahman has no connection or contact with any material object. Material object means imaginary object. Don't forget this basic principle. Just as a chair or a table has contact with the ground, or a man, or a book, so it does not dwell in those beings. For example, the water is in the glass, but glass is not in the water. So this is how the absolute is not in these all beings. And how can the rabbit will be in the horns of the rabbit? Horns are imaginary something which doesn't exist at all. Horns are superimposed on the head of the rabbit instead of the ears. We think it is horn. But the horns are seen in the rabbit, but rabbit is not in the horns. So also the supreme truth is not at all concerned with all these manifestations, so it doesn't exist in it. That which has no connection or contact with the objects or beings cannot be contained anywhere, as if in a vessel, trunk, room, or receptacle. The self is not rooted in all these forms. It is not contained by any of these forms, just as the ether is not contained in any form, though all forms are derived from the ether. All beings appear to be living in Brahman. Appears. It just appears. This means it is only imaginarily appearing. All beings appear to be living in Brahman, but this is an illusion. If this illusion vanishes, nothing remains anywhere except Brahman. When ignorance, the cause of the illusion, disappears, the very idea of the existence of these beings also will vanish. I very often give the example of the stone lion in the dark, pitch dark, cloudy night, which is standing before you as a lion, living lion, ready to swallow you. Because of your ignorance, you think it is a living lion because of the darkness or your inability to know the reality. You think the lion is sitting before you and ready to swallow you. But when there is a little lightning in the cloudy sky, you saw it is not a lion, it is a stone lion. The lion idea is superimposed on the stone. It is neither lion nor it is living or nothing is there. Because of darkness, because of inability to see it clearly, because of misunderstanding only, ignorance only, you have imagined this real living lion in the stone. It remains a stone forever. After a glance, real vision, that is due to the flash of light. In the same way, if you have the glimpse of the truth, the whole ignorance, all these creations, they disappear as the living lion disappears. Even though after it, after the lightning, everywhere the darkness pervades, yet it cannot delude you. You understand, it is only stone. It cannot be lion in any way, at any condition. So also the jnanis, the realized souls who have been one with the absolute truth, they look at this world like this stone lion, like this stone lion being living lion. This is how the snake on the rope, when there is light, the snake disappears then and there. The rope appears before you. All those fear of snake vanishes then and there. So when this ignorance or illusion vanishes, all these names and forms, all these manifestation which we call creation, they disappear as it were. They never be seen afterwards. So, all these never exist in the truth, but the truth is cause for all this. How it is? The presence of truth. The truth is it is not the direct cause for the creation, That's how we call it super unmanifested, and the lower unmanifested is the causal body. Causal body means it is the cause for the creation. Imbalanced state in a balanced state. That is called Mula Prakriti, and that is called unmanifested, lower unmanifested. That is otherwise also known as the presence of the Absolute. The President is there in the headquarters of the country, in his President's house. He does nothing. He doesn't come to catch a culprit somewhere, a thief or a murderer. But his presence does everything. I gave you the example of Gangotri incident. Very often I gave you. You see, once our President of India, no. President had to come to Gangotri. That story I am telling. President had the program to come to Gangotri, and he was childhood boyfriend of our Swamiji Sivanand Maharaj. They belong to same place. Now he has become the President of India, and he wanted to come to Gangotri when Swami Sivanand will be there. So they were in touch, and Swamiji said, I will be in Gangotri in this period, so you may come. So President made a program, and according to program, long beforehand, everything should be take care, should be properly set. President has to come, and a log cabin was built. He will stay there for a night and meet Swamiji. Everything was ready. Lakhs of rupees were spent for arrangements. Everywhere there is beautiful gates, and the roads were so clean, and the police people were standing every here and there, and water department, electricity department, forest department, everything. And mandir was so nicely decorated, and everything was clean and so well organized. And all of a sudden, the program of the President cancelled due to some reason. And I was with Swamiji. We stepped down at Gangotri. Swamiji saw, oh, how Gangotri is so neat and clean, how it is so well decorated, and everywhere some gates and something. What is this? How it is so? So I explained, Swamiji, I had all the news. I said, Swamiji, the President had to come to see you. Is he coming? No, Swamiji. The program is cancelled. Oh, this is how Swamiji Maharaj explained to me. This is how the news itself is enough to do anything and everything. His presence, his information he will come, that much is enough. President has to do nothing. This is how. The presence of the president does all the law, keeps all the balance in law and order, and everything goes on perfectly well in the country. When the king is there, all the subjects will be alert. Oh, any time, anywhere, he may have visit. So be alert, in high alert. And when the tiger is not there in the forest, the deer, they dance. This is how presence does many things. That is the causal body of the Absolute. His presence does everything. That's how in Gita also Lord Krishna explains, Maya dhakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. By my just signal. Yes, yes, Guruji, shall we start? Yes, then the class starts. So this is how the presence does everything. That is called the cause for everything. That is not the reality, but presence of the reality, existence of the reality. This is how this causal body is known to be everything, whereas it is nothing. No way it becomes the cause for everything, but yet from other angle, this is the only cause for everything. Whatever is going on in the creation, in the whole universe, it is because of the presence of the Absolute. Because of the fear of the truth, the sun shines, the moon rises in the proper time and sets in time. The stars twinkle in the sky. Everything, the wind blows because of his fear. The fire gives heat and light. Water flows in proper channel. It will not flow upward, it will flow downward only because of his fear. Because of his fear of his presence. The Absolute has nothing to do with it. So now we can have little understanding how the truth is, the Supreme Brahman is cause for all this, yet it is not the cause. It doesn't remain in all these. The President doesn't come to see Gangotri how it is. Is it really ready to welcome me or not? Nothing is concerned. He is not aware of all this. Yes?
So should they, from a relative point of view, the presence, the news of president which is coming, so should we consider that as a cause?
The cause. That is the causal body of the individual and also the Absolute causal body, which has got no clear definition. It is something which is nothing, but yet everything. Of course, we can imagine something on the subtle body, individual subtle body, or the individual a universal subtle body. We can imagine something, but we cannot say anything on the causal body of the universal being or the individual being. The presence of the Absolute is so. So, that presence does everything, but that presence has no concern with anything. In verses 4 and 5, the Lord uses a paradox or an apparent contradiction. All beings dwell in me and yet do not dwell in me. They are in me, yet they are not in me. How it is? When you look at the head part of the coin, you know it is coin, but the head is not the coin. The tail is not the coin. When you see the day, you see the sun is there. Because of the sun, the day light is there. But sun has got nothing to do with this daylight or night darkness. He has no concern. In this way, though it apparently appears to be contradiction, yet it is not so. All beings dwell in me and yet do not dwell in me. I do not dwell in them. For a thinker here is no real contradiction at all. Just as space contains all beings and yet is not tossed by them. Can you toss the sky? We can toss the movement of sky as air. Air is the cause for our touch, but not the sky. So I tell always, this when the sky, unmovable sky appears to be moving, that is called air. There is no air as such. When the sky moves, unmovable sky, when appears as if moving, that is called air. So, by the words we expressed, the air gets originated from the sky, and so also the fire from the air. It is all the same, but as for our perception, as we don't understand anything, we imagine something in something. That's how we say we touch the air, not the sky. You cannot touch, but sky is all pervading. In this way, can you see the sky? Though it is all pervading and everywhere present. Is it blue? Or it is of some color, but it appears to be golden yellow at the dawn. How it becomes colorful? All these are imaginations only, and our superimpositions. So also Param Brahman contains everything and yet is not tossed by them. Even Mula Prakriti, The source or womb of this world is supported by Brahman. Mula Prakriti, the lower unmanifested, is supported by the higher unmanifested Brahman. Brahman has no support or root. It rests in its own pristine glory. You see, the Absolute is support for everything, but yet it is not the support. Just as we have decided, its presence is enough. So, it is untouched by all these happenings. And Brahman is not supported by anything. Why? We always think relatively only. Our thoughts are within the law of relativity. Mind is a relative term. Intellect also is a relative term. Buddhi, intellect, chitta, the subconscious mind, ego, ever-changing ego, and all these senses or body or prana, all these are within the law of relativity. When one is compared with the other, then only we understand something for some time in some condition or other, which is not permanent. So, always I used to say, something or other is taken as something or other in some condition or other, in some time or other, in some place or other. Nothing is certain. And it is taken for granted or other to be something or other. That is our world and our life and our being. Nothing is clear. Everything is just something or other. Something or other. No clearance. This is how this absolute truth, because it is beyond all relativity. Relativity means two, where there is support for each other and dependency, cooperation, interdependence, and all these are due to comparison or due to dependency. Say this triangle. Triangle is a cooperative, dependent object. The angle cannot exist without the support of the sides, and sides cannot exist without the support of the triangle. And one angle is supported by other two angles. One side is supported by two other angles, other sides. In this way, everything is dependent on everything. This is how the whole world is based upon this triangular cooperative society. That is, one exists because of the other. This is called relativity. And here, just as we see one finger, when one is there, there is no comparison. There is no counting, there is no identification. It is enough. It is self-supported. It is neither big nor small, neither thick nor thin, neither one nor two. It just exists. But when there is the appearance of two, then all the complications start. One becomes supported by the other. Because it is tall, that's how it is short. Its tallness is supported by its shortness. Because it is thin, so it is thick. Its thickness is supported by its other's thinness. Or else we cannot say what is it. All these qualities, actions, appearance, all the aspects are supported by each other. This is called relativity. Without comparing between the two, we cannot have any decisive aspects. So, one is cause for the other is effect of the cause, which is support for the effect. In this way, relativity is there, and that is how the world is made up of pairs of opposites. This is called the law of relativity. Law of relativity, not that formula of Einstein. This is called relativity formula. When two is there, relativity starts. Time, space, conditions, comparisons, and this is how we understand this from our traditional formula. What is that? Ratha Parampara, the tradition of the chariot. That is very famous in philosophy. Everything is relative. The car moves at the speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Now tell me, to whom does the speed belong? Is the speed belongs to the car, body of the car, or the wheel of the car, or the engine of the car, or the fuel of the car, or the driver of the car? To whom does this speed belong? Whose speed is it? If we see it analytically, all the parts of every aspect of every part of the car is tightly fixed. Nothing is moving. Does the wheel move? The tire, every part of the tire is tightly fixed. If the part of the tire moves, the tire bursts, the car cannot move. If the particles of the rim move, then the rim cannot support the tire. The car cannot move. So the axis, the ball bearings, the steering, the driver also is tightly sitting, fixingly. It is sitting on the seat. It never moves. If the driver moves out of the car, the car cannot move. If the steering moves, car cannot move. So it is a comparative aspect of the speed of the car. There is no speed. When the car is compared to the ground, to the road, then we say it is moving. Nothing is moving in the car. Analytically, can you say anything moves in the car? The engine is tightly fixed. Every part of the engine, the fuel cannot move out of the engine. No wire can move. No connectivity can be disconnected. So everything is fixed, but yet we see the speed. This is some imaginary, comparative, relative aspect, which is not reality. Without comparison, it goes on by the way it goes on in our mind, and we say we are used to it. So we have been habituated to think in this way. The car is moving. Nothing moves. The world is as constant as the pole star. Nothing is moving here. Neither the sun, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor the air, nor the water, nor the fire. Nothing moves. Everything is constant. And constancy is the supremacy. That is the eternal truth. But it appears as if everything is moving. It is only comparatively understood. This is called law of relativity. And this is how the support and supported and cause and effect, because the absolute is one, so it is self-supported. It is beyond all this relativity. There is no comparison there. So it is beyond time, space and conditions, beyond mind, intellect and your reach, beyond perception, beyond your so-called visibility. That's how it is above all. No comparison, no rules, no regulations, nothing is applicable there. That's how it is called the great black hole. Mahagarta, the great hole. It consumes everything within it. Everything disappears in it. The beyond the horizon of events, there is no time, there is no space, no conditions, no situations, no events, no cause and effect, no relativity. Neither far nor near, nor there is any light nor darkness. It is self-effulgent, self-supported. It is the absolute one, without a second. There is no expectation of the second. So it is called Advaitam, one without a second. There is no possibility of the second. This is how everything is within it, and it is not in anything. So tomorrow we shall see further all these contradictions which appear to be apparently contradictory to each other, but it is not so. Tomorrow we shall see Nata matsani bhutani pasyame yogam aishwaryam bhutavrinna cha bhutasto Mamatma bhuta bhavana. This we shall see tomorrow. Nor do beings exist in me in reality. Behold my divine yoga, supporting all beings, but not dwelling in them. Is myself the efficient cause of all beings, the causeless cause for everything. Tomorrow we shall see clearly. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om.